All right, guys, welcome to the episode of Close and Conquer. I'm here with my buddy Brandin Bryant. How you doing, Brandin?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. So let me first of all let y'all know my hair, Drew. My hair there. My man. He's there. Okay, this is new. See, I got my new TV.
Yep.
See, before, dude, I was looking in here, which is like a little hood. Like I couldn't really see nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's like like above your oven. You're like, dude, I can't see you, and then I kind of can see you. Plus, you big, so we need to get the big TV. So you're the first one when we do the podcast studio like this with TV, Brandin. So let me tell you how I met Brandin. Over at FAU, Brandin played in the league for years. I want you to tell your story. But here's this guy walking around, giving back, watch the way I watch people. It's the other thing I do. I like to watch everything they do, how they interact with people, how do people interact with them, how they act when people are watching them, when they're not, how they act when they're on camera, how they react when they're not. You know, and I was like, dude, I just like this guy. You know, and you're talking about your book. I want you to all that. But we got to talk. I'm like, I got to get to know who this guy is. And that's the other thing in life. Like, I think when people say, like, what should one of your goals be? Dude, people should want to get to know you. Like, if they walk into a room, for whatever reason, they should go, like, oh, and that's the kind of dude you are. Like, people want to get to know you. I meet a lot of people, and I want to get to know you. So tell our viewers a little bit about you, who you are, your story.
So you want the long story or the short
long
story?
one, bro.
All right,
Share it.
So let's go all the way back.
Yeah.
So from Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
Grew up there, football family. Grandfather played at University of Nebraska. He was an All-American football player and wrestler.
Really?
Yeah. Military guy as well. He had 5 kids. My mother's from Omaha, Nebraska as well. And, I grew up running track and wanting to be like my dad, my uncles, and my grandpa. And, they finally get to the point where I'm 7, 8, and, they make me play football. And I didn't really want to play. I was kind of scared, So I remember actually watching, Remember the Titans at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to play football. But, this movie, it was so brutal. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to do that. So my dad, being the guy he is, he was like, well, I'm going to make you play. If you don't like it, you don't have to play next year. But if you start it, which I'm going to make you start it, you can't quit.
Correct.
So, just go at it straight from there. And, wasn't always the best player. I started when I was 7 years old. So the guys were 8, 9, and 10, much older than me. But I got that taste of it, and I loved it. And I grew up, flash forward to high school. No offers coming out of high school. No offers coming out of Omaha North High.
None.
Not one single offer. Not one. I had University of Wayne State, Nebraska.
That was it.
And Nebraska actually, they were at the point where they kind of wanted me to walk on, and then they took it away. So it's like I literally
They didn't let you walk on.
No, they didn't let me walk on.
Damn.
And this is a point at Omaha where they weren't really recruiting that area that heavy either. So it was just a tough thing. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go junior college because I believe I'm a D1 player, and this is against my high school coach, against I'll never forget the high school security guard at my school looked at me. He said, "You're making the biggest." You're making the worst choice of your life.
By doing what?
By going to junior college instead of going to Wayne State.
Really?
He's like, this is the worst choice of
And
your
Wayne
life.
State is what division? Everybody?
Division 2.
Okay,
in the middle of nowhere in Wayne, Nebraska.
Got it.
No offense to Wayne,
Yeah.
good school, but I just didn't want to do
But,
that.
dude, who told you it was worse? The guy
It was
what?
the high school security guard.
The security guard decided he knew better?
That's what he said. He said, this is the worst choice you'll ever make in your
What'd you
life.
say to him?
I was like, we'll see. I believed in myself. I was just like, I couldn't imagine myself going to Wayne State.
Right.
So I go to junior college. I go to Fort Scott Community College. Still don't play there. I redshirt. But the school is such a powerhouse in the junior college world that there was so many scouts, so many schools coming to recruit the guys that the coaches would see me in practicing good, and I would get some attention. And just how the world works that. One of the coach who initially offered me that walk-on position in Nebraska, they kind of flirted with it, then they took it away. He came down to FAU, Coach Carl Pelini.
Okay.
And the head coach at Fort Scott was Jeffrey Sims. Him and Pelini were boys, so he came here. When Pelini got the job, he comes to FAU.
Wow.
And he's the receivers coach, and he's like, hey, Carl, I got this guy. He's not playing, but I think he can be pretty good. They come, they offer me a scholarship. Dude from Omaha, Nebraska, come down here, never seen the ocean, never really been to South Florida.
Never been to South Florida.
I came down once for a track meet when I was 6, but not in that capacity. So I'm down here. I'm like, man, this is nothing like Omaha. This is nothing like Fort Scott. Like, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. So I come to FAU, and my goal was to come down here and be a 4-year starter, and I was. Faced some adversity, get to FAU, tore my ACL twice.
Really?
Which that's a story in and of itself. But that's just adversity, just the thing, the mental, the challenge that you go through and the physical challenges as well. So I'm going through all that, and then I don't get drafted. So I come out of FAU undrafted. Then, now that last year was my 8th year in the league, bounced around the league for 8 years, like a true journeyman, stint in the CFL as well in there. And, here we are now. So, there's a lot of stories within that, but, that's my life and my football career in a nutshell.
Well, you know what's amazing, and I think a lot of the folks that we got, they're former athletes, they're businessmen, businesswomen, but how many guys were in your situation, either took the D2 offer or decided I'm done playing, or, didn't work their ass off in practice because you wouldn't have been seen had you not.
Yeah.
That's when you were getting seen, not during no games, in practice.
Yep.
And then the world comes together, plus God is great.
Yep.
Like, there's nothing like, I'm not trying to argue with him, but I'm just saying, God is great.
Yeah.
I know we keep doing this whole dude, how'd you do that? God is great. And I know you want a better answer, and I wish, but I'm just telling you that is the answer.
That's it. Yeah.
I ain't gonna argue with you. Everybody's gotta believe what they gotta believe, but that's true. And then all of a sudden, you worked hard, you did what you're supposed to do, and then these guys come to a school, they offer you a spot, and you come down, play those 4 years. So why do you think you weren't your defensive tackle?
Yep.
Okay. Why do you think you weren't drafted? You were good enough to be drafted. You played in the league that many years. Why do you think you weren't drafted? Because I'm just trying to educate myself.
Yeah, I think, I had a lot to work on at the time.
Yeah.
I got by a lot just on pure effort, pure motor, pure athleticism. Like, my technique wasn't that fine-tuned at the time, but I had the stats as well. So that plays a part of into it. Like, my technique wasn't that sound, but FAU was a real up-and-coming school at that time. We had 2 or 3 draft picks before me.
Correct.
We had Alfred Morris, Rusty Smith, maybe Lester Jean, Rob Hauser, DeJon Smith. So 5 guys, and I think maybe 3 of those guys were drafted. So FAU wasn't really known as putting guys in the league. So FAU was kind of overlooked. Played in the Sun Belt, which really wasn't that much of a competitive conference at the time. Then Conference USA, that had something to do with it. And then ultimately just the 2 ACLs. Once you have 1 ACL, let alone 2 in the same knee, they write you
the same knee.
The same knee. So, you're always battling against that. Like, okay, this guy, he's undersized, which I was my freshman year.
How big are you?
I got up to 315 in the league.
Okay, when you were undersized, how big were you?
My senior year, I played at 285.
And how tall?
About 6'3", 6'2" and a half, 6'3".
6'3", 285, and somebody says you're undersized.
Man, he got these.
I know, but I'm saying the league's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy. How old are you?
I'm 30 now.
Dude, I'm 51.
Yeah.
When I watched dudes in the league when I was in my 20s, they weren't like that.
Yeah, no.
It's a different world, but that's unbelievable.
It's a different world. And then, so, like I said, the 2 ACLs, whatever. But I go to my pro day and I know, this is I have to excel at this pro day.
Correct.
So I test out the water. I hit 225, 38, 39 times.
You pressed 225 39 times?
39 times.
Damn.
Didn't get invited to the combine, though, which also kind of hurt you. No Senior Bowl, no Shrine Bowl, no NFL Bowl, but all these things kind of worked against me. But my pro day was lights out. If you put my numbers against any defensive tackle that year, I had the best numbers out of any defensive tackle, probably me and Rob Kimdichie out of Ole Miss. So 40 was good. I got clocked everywhere from a 4.79 to a 4.92.
That's unfair.
I had a very good pro day.
Big dude to run that fast.
Yeah, like I said, I grew up a track runner, man. So I'm a sprinter at heart. Running back, converted into D tackle. I grew up playing running back. So just all those things, and we had a coaching change as well. And maybe like I said, I wasn't the most technically defined guy at the time, but like you said, man, God's good. Everything happens for a reason. So I wouldn't change a thing.
So walk us through, because I've heard that, I was talking to Sean Merriman. He's quite older than you, but he played in the league. And I said, what was the biggest thing you learned when you first stepped onto the practice field in the league? And he said, my technique. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, dude, I had offensive tackles that were 2 bad knees, old, last year in the league, and I couldn't get by them. He said, and finally one of them pulled me aside and said, man, it's your technique. And talk to us, because I think in life, right? But talk to us about what that means. How did you identify it, and what did you do to work on it? How important is that?
Man, one, technique is everything. And when, fans turn on the TV. They see O-line, D-line. They just see a whole bunch of meatheads running into each other.
100%.
But realistically, that battle between the offensive line and defensive line is probably the most skilled matchup out there. You're right next to each other. The margin of error is so slim. If I'm coming out of my stance and I got to get, let's say I need a 8-inch step. If my step is 6 inches or 11 inches, that's a chance that I'm going to end up on my face or I'm going to lose the rep. If I need to put my hands on this guy, sternum to bicep, and my hands are, let's say bicep to bicep, then I'm going to lose the rep. Everything is such a fine detail. My hands have to be perfect. My eyes, my feet, everything. It's like a high. It's really like a fight. It's like boxing.
And they're doing everything to get you to not do what you want to do.
And they have the same battle in their head. They know they have to get their hands inside of me. I have to get my hands inside them. And you have that threat of danger as well. It's like, okay, if I don't do this, then this guy can put me on my back. Correct. On top of me trying to make it a play. So all those things that just kind of go over your head as a young player in college, because in college you can get by, and that's what I try to get across to these younger guys. I'm like, you can get by, you can be a good player in college just by going out there and running around and doing things that you shouldn't do. But in the NFL, the margin of like the talent level is so close. Like I just told you all those things. I ran 39 bench, 4.8 40. The guy I'm going next to, he probably doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So my technique has to be so, so direct and almost perfect that, that's the only thing that's going to set you apart.
And then you talk about conference in school, and I think a lot about that. It's funny you talk about that with your dad, because my son, same deal. He's a baseball player, but like early on, it was like, dude, if you start playing football, you're going to keep playing, at least for that one season. Yeah. First call practice. And it was just, he was like, I love basketball, I love baseball. Yep. And I was like, good. Football don't love you either, bro. Like, I love you, but it's just not your thing. But the reality is that there's so many guys out there at these smaller schools, smaller conferences. Do you think, that's a real thing, that there's dudes that just passed up that could play in the league, but they're just, they ain't in the SEC. They're not at Georgia. You know what I mean? They're not in the Big Ten, Big 12. So when you get in the league, does that make any difference? Anybody care at all? When you get in the league, is it all like, don't matter anymore, you're all here, but is there still some like, he played at FAU, he played here, does that carry you or follow you at all?
It carries you for a while. You have to really, and that's with almost any role in the NFL. Like if you're labeled as let's just say you're labeled as a practice squad player, you're labeled as a special teams guy, you're labeled as a high IQ guy, you're labeled as a guy that's not so smart. These labels go with you so long in the NFL until you do something miraculous to get it off of you. It kind of sticks with you forever. That's why, like, you see a guy, I don't want to say any names, but if you see a guy, he's a number 1 overall pick, he'll last in the NFL for a long
100%.
time. You know what I mean? Like, somebody's going to give him a chance. And it actually kind of clicked with me one day. I'm reading this book. It's called The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. And he spoke about like a hedge fund manager or whatever, a manager of stocks or whoever, and they're more likely to pick a stock that's in the S&P 500.
100%.
Because if they pick a company that's in S&P 500 and it fails, then whoever they have to answer to, like, hey, I would have picked that company
like everybody
too.
else.
Yeah, but if you go out, you get that random blue chip, tech
that's
risky company that fails.
IPO nobody knows about, and you roll the dice on it.
Now you're like, okay, why did you do that? It's the same thing with a guy in the SEC. He's in the SEC. He had 10 sacks in the SEC. This guy's in the Sun Belt. He had 10 sacks. If the guy in the SEC doesn't work out, everybody would make that same mistake. But if you go rogue and you pick this Sun Belt guy, then what were you thinking? You know what I mean? So I think that same thing just, it goes to how these scouts and these higher ups in the NFL think as well. It's just like nobody wants to make that bad mistake. So they'll go with the safe choice every time.
When did you know, I know you believed in yourself, obviously, but when did it hit you when you started practicing wherever you're at, whatever your team, right? You're like, dude, I'm actually, like, I can play in the league. I can play in the league. Like, I know I can play in the league.
I always believed, but it really clicked. I would say after my stint in the CFL, I come back and all that stuff happens with the Browns versus the Steelers. The big fight happens.
Okay.
And before then, it's like I wasn't getting my shot. Like, I'm doing everything right. My coach is coming up to me. He's telling me, he's like, man, I'm trying to get you out there, but I got a lot of friction upstairs. Like, they're battling me. They don't want to, they don't want to play. Essentially, because basically what we just talked about. Like, you're doing everything right, but nobody's going to put their job on the line for you to go out there on the field. So he's like, man, keep doing what you're doing and just trust us.
And you're where at this point in time?
I'm in Cleveland.
So you're in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay, practice squad?
Practice squad.
Okay.
And my coach just straight up told me, and I appreciated that because he just kept it real with me. I'm like, dang, like, okay. like.
So practice squad, you're going against the guys.
Yeah, I'm going against the
offensive, the starting offense.
Yep.
You're practicing.
Yep.
You're doing well enough to be on the field.
Doing well.
But ain't nobody going, hey, man,
Nah.
Brandin needs a shot.
They brought in maybe like 2 or 3 other guys. Like, I'm there doing good. A defensive tackle goes down. They bring in a guy from Jacksonville. Same thing happens. They bring in a guy from, I don't know, Dallas, whatever. They just keep bringing in other guys off practice squads.
Passing you up.
Passing me up. And, it's just like, as an undrafted player in the league, coming from the CFL, like, you almost come to expect it. So it's not like I'm getting down on myself or I'm mad at anybody. Like, at this point, I understand the business. Like, this is my 3rd, 4th year of professional football. Yeah. So I get it. I didn't really accept it, but I understood the business of it. And then that fight happens. So that fight happens on a Thursday night. Everybody gets suspended.
Everybody go.
Everybody's going suspended. Guys are hurt. So they're like, my coach, he's like, hey, this is your chance. And like, that's what it takes sometimes. Like, unfortunately, somebody, like what happened, Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady. Drew Bledsoe broke his leg, right? Like, I think something like that happened.
Yep.
So somebody gets hurt, somebody gets in a fight, you thrust it out there, and you got the opportunity. So, you got to be prepared. So I go out there, we play against the Dolphins.
That's the following Sunday.
Thursday
night, the fight, everybody's suspended. A week and a few days later, you're starting.
I'm not starting, but I essentially started. The coach called me and another guy in the room. He said, hey, player over there, I won't say his name, you're going to start, but I don't want to see you guys fighting for reps. You're going to go series after series, series, and one of you will be here next week, one of you won't. He straight up told us that.
Wow.
So I'm like, cool. Like, he started, but we get the same amount of reps. I go out there, I have a good game. I think like the first 2 or 3 plays I have a tackle. I really, I had like 5 tackles that game, but they gave me like 2. But we watched the film, and my coach, he's like, man, this is good stuff we put out there. And he called me to the side, same dude who always kept it real with me. He's like, the other 2 guys who I won't name, one of the guys getting paid like $15 million a year, the other guy's like a 2nd-round draft pick. He's like, there is this much of a difference between you and those 2 guys. That guy's getting paid $15 million a year, the other guy's a 2nd-round pick, and you guys are this far apart. He's like, keep doing what you're doing. So at that point, I know like, this is
real.
Yeah, it's real. I got it. I can do this.
But it's also a guy that kept it real.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the other thing with people. It's like, when people are talking about anything, it's like, what do you want? You want somebody to keep it real? Because I was talking to a guy the other day, and he comes to me, and I won't say his, but he's in the league, and he was like, what do you think about this? And I was like, I think that's a terrible business investment. Like, I can't even tell you how bad it is. That's so bad, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know what to tell you, bro. I'm not mad at you, but I don't have a dog in the fight. Mm-hmm. It's not but you're going to throw your money away, And he's like, well, it's that bad? I go, it's that bad. Wow. Like, if you want to call these guys right now, I'll talk to them with you and tell them how, and I don't care I want you to be happy. Dude, give them the money if you want to. But here's 10 reasons why it's bad. Wow. And he's like, man, I always appreciate you always keep it real with me. And I'm like, dude, why would I ever? And I have no hate in it. I want you to find things that are good. And this isn't like, oh my God, you're taking a flyer on it. It's not a 1st-round draft pick. Dude, here's why it's bad. Mm-hmm. He has no idea what he's doing. It's 12 states away. The numbers don't make sense. The market value's not there. We start going through it all. It's like, man, okay, thanks a lot. Because people respond when you do that.
Yep.
If it's been somebody else telling you, might go, no, I don't know, dude. That guy's never really kept it real with me.
Yeah.
Because those how you, but again, you're a guy that you can keep it real with. Mm-hmm. There's people that guy probably talked to who are like, he just stopped talking to him like that because they didn't want to hear it.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
He's like, dude, I'm just telling you, he don't know what he's talking about. No, he does. The security guard at the school don't know he's no offense. He's a security guard. Yeah. We love him. He's probably a great guy. Yep. But he ain't the football guy. Yep. He can't tell you. But a guy in the league, coaching D-line, been around for however long these people are, they know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
They do it every day. It's a matter of, do you want to receive it? Mm-hmm. So I tell people all the time that makes it, that separates, because you could the rest of your life go, because how many guys do you know that spend the rest of their life talking about what could have been?
Many.
And like, dude, I got you, but like when you're a practice player, how much do you make?
When you're a practice squad player, you're making about $12,000 to $16,000 a week.
Okay, so you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Because you're getting paid. But can you imagine? You got brought in with another guy. Dude said, one of you'll be here, one of you won't.
Yep.
That's real.
Yeah.
Like, that's effing real. And a lot of people that do is you went, all right, sounds good to me. Yep. I'm going to get as many reps as him. I'm going to beat him out.
Exactly.
And some people are like, they quit before it even gets started. You know you got them because you can just tell by the way they're acting. Same thing in life. Same thing in anything you do, right? So now you tell me, by the way, how is the CFL, this is what I heard. My buddy was saying, you and I talked a little bit about it before, and everybody I've talked to said the same thing. What were you making in the CFL?
CFL, my contract was 57,000 Canadian. So
57,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
And then if you're a practice squad player in the NFL,
it's whatever 12 times.
well, dude,
18 is,
10 grand a week is $520,000 a year.
Yep.
So like you were playing in the CFL, practicing your ass off, competing, playing, making the money. And how much do the Canadian players make? Same guy as you, Canadian player.
If a starter?
Starter.
Probably a good starter, maybe around 125 Canadian.
Okay. But still a lot more money. I mean,
Yeah.
and they ain't known for having unbelievable football players. How many Canadian guys are in the NFL?
Probably count them on two hands.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
My point is you were getting underpaid.
Yeah.
No matter what, everybody
Yeah.
was.
Exactly.
But they're like, we're going to defer to the guys that are, I guess, Canadian citizens.
Yeah.
How was the quality of football there? Like when you competed on a...
Man, I don't want any CFL people to get
I
mad
mean,
at me.
well,
No,
I mean,
I'll say it.
Yeah,
I'll keep it real.
I don't try to hurt nobody.
No.
I'm just saying, like, from a when I'm because I'll tell you, I've watched it and it's hard for me. I never stayed with it.
So they have, and I'm not going to say the numbers exactly right, but there's a limit to how many American players can be on each roster, and they kind of do that to keep the game Canadian.
Correct.
So there's a national requirement on each team, which I think the roster has to be like 52% Canadian and maybe 48% American. So a lot of the Americans right away are, you go to training camp, you're competing against, let's say 60 Americans for 25 spots, whatever it may be. And the Canadian guys, they got a leg up on you because they have to have them on the roster. And there has to be like 7 Canadian starters as well. So there are good players, they're good Canadian players, and they're good Americans in Canada as well. But simply the football isn't as important it is in Canada as it is in America. Like my wife's from Toronto. There isn't one, she's from Whitby, Ontario. There may be one high school football team in that entire city that has a football team.
Wow.
So it's like,
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
It's hard to grow the program in the country.
And they're like, FAU might play 13, 14 games this year. University of Regina's probably playing 8 games, 7, 8 games. So it's just, the development's not there. It's not as serious, but it's night and day. The NFL to the CFL is the skill level, the player development, the athletics, everything is just it's 3 levels above.
Is that hard because you're competing on a daily and weekly basis at a level that's a third of what you're going to need in the NFL to keep your mind focused on what it's going to take to be in the league as you're competing and working out and the whole deal?
I would say that, like we spoke about, everything happens for a reason. That's how I know I went to junior college for a reason. Because if I didn't go to junior college and had that experience when I got to the CFL, I wouldn't have saw that it was possible for me to go back to the NFL.
Got it.
Like it was just like the same exact scenario. Like I'm in Fort Scott, right? Like our weight room is, we got 3 racks in there. Everything's beat up. It's raggedy. You got to get your own water. The cold tubs are horse feed bins. You wake up in the morning, you see cows and bulls, and you can smell it as soon as you wake up. So like I'm used to this. Like I know I went to JUCO. I know what it's going to take for me to go Division I.
Correct.
Now I'm in the NFL. I go to Canadian League, which in my mind it's like, okay, I'm in junior college again.
Yeah.
I'm here for a reason. I'm not here to be a long-term 6-7 year Canadian player. I'm here to do what I got to do. I'm giving my best. I'm here to win. I'm going to make sure I'm a good person, good teammate, all that. I'm not gonna, shit on anybody, but I'm here to get back to the NFL.
Correct.
And that's what I told the general manager when I signed a contract. They wanted me to sign like 3 months before, and I was just like, I told him, I said, I can't sign right now because my mind's not there. Like I'm still looking for an NFL contract before the season's over. I was like, if I go to the CFL right now, I won't be giving it my all. I'll be focused on the NFL. So like, I don't think it's fair for anybody for me to go sign a CFL contract right now. Because when I'm there, I'm there. So that's what I did. I go there, and I play for that year, and then I play for. This is actually another crazy story too, but I play, and then I find myself back in the NFL. But just for the simple fact that I had that junior college experience to lean on, it wasn't hard for me to stay focused and understand what the objective was.
So all right, so take it back because I remember watching this fight breaks out. How many guys got suspended from your team in that fight?
At least 4. At least 4.
I mean, it's a big deal. Like in the NFL, that doesn't happen a lot. That kind of deal.
Yeah, that was wild.
It was wild, right? How was for the team? Like, how coming off of that fight? Like, was it the culture the same, different? What was the guys that people got suspended? It got a lot of coverage.
Yeah,
people got it got on a lot of levels. Got heated.
Yep.
Got heated on you take a helmet off, start swinging it. That's heated. Mm-hmm. if a dude's, using language that's remotely racially motivated, that's 8 million % wrong, but that gives you a different angle. So it was so much national and international recognition.
Yeah.
Was that what everybody was talking about for a week, 2 weeks, a month? You're still playing ball. Yeah. You were like, dude, I'm going to play ball. So I'm good either way. But like the media around it, what was the feeling?
Man, I'll say a couple of things. I'll say one, Myles Garrett is one of the freakiest people I've ever seen in my life. Like, no doubt in my mind, if Myles Garrett decided that I'm going to be a heavyweight champion boxer of the world,
he could do it.
He could do it. Yeah. Give him like 7 years, he could do it. And he's probably still like 26 years old.
Yeah.
MMA, same thing. He's a good basketball player as well. I won't say he can go to the NBA, but Myles is a supreme athlete. Yeah. I've sparred with Myles. I've seen him. He trains with Miocic. If that was his fist, other than the helmet, it would have been worse for Mason Rudolph. Much worse. Yeah. If he would have actually punched Mason Rudolph or Randolph, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say his name. Yeah. If it would have been Myles' fist, it would have been worse. Correct. So I'll say that.
It's been hard for everybody to watch.
It would have been bad. Like, Myles is a monster.
Yeah.
Second, I'll say that for my point of view, when I first saw it, like, I honestly, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Like, it's a fight. Correct. Things happen. Yeah. Helmet got swung. Nothing happens. It's not the end of the world. But it's a Thursday night game.
Yeah. The world.
Yeah, everybody's watching. So, you turn on ESPN and that's all they have to talk about because it's Thursday night. Right. And I don't want to say they blew it out of proportion because it could have been bad.
But they blew it out of proportion.
But they did. They did.
Of course they did.
So, that happened. And in my mind, I'm just thinking like, dang, like, Myles hit him with the helmet. He lucky he didn't punch him. Correct. If he'd have punched him, it would have been bad.
Because you know.
Because I know.
You've seen it.
And that's all I was thinking. And then we go in the locker room, and then the next day you turn on TV, and it's just everywhere. And I'm like, whoa, like, am I messed up? Like, am I this desensitized? Because I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
And you're close to it.
Yeah, I was close to it. So, like, I really didn't think it was that big of a deal. I just think, maybe I'm, whatever. Boys will be boys. Like, they're out there playing football. It's a fight.
That's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens. But then it's just like it got took to that point where it's like they vilify Myles and they call him all these things, and I'm like, okay, he shouldn't have done it. It's a mistake.
Correct.
But I just, in my mind, like I said, I may be desensitized to all this stuff going on. But I just honestly, I didn't think it was gonna get as blasted over the media like it was.
No, and it's first of all, it's a very aggressive sport.
Yeah,
it's a physical sport. And it's funny you say that because I can't remember who it was. Somebody else said that to me. You're lucky, and I don't know. They didn't play with y'all, but he knew him, and he's like, "Yo, you're lucky he didn't hit him with his fist."
No, he is.
He's like, I'm just telling you, like, he would have fucking dropped him. No. Like, it would have been bad. You think that was bad in Thursday Night Football? He said that dude would have been out.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it's just crazy how insane the coverage was. It's all everybody talked about
everywhere,
and it was like, and on each end, it was like, oh my god, dude. Like, but I guess also sometimes, you grew up in Nebraska.
Yeah.
When there was hostility between people, guys fought that. Like, that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
In football, it happens. JUCO.
Yep. Yeah, that's man.
Yo, I mean, because I even went over to play baseball in junior college. I was like, yo, these guys are hooked up. Yeah. And I also realized like how good everybody was.
Yeah.
And I was like, because you like king of your own world, and you're like, is he here? And they're like, oh, he got drafted in the 4th round. He's just doing to come back. I'm like, he wants to do better than that. You're like, I remember my coach said, I said, where's he play? He said, 3rd. He's like, where do you play? I said, I used to play 3rd until just now. Like, I'll play right field, left field. Like, that fool doesn't do anything but hit the ball over the fence. Oh. It's actually Canadian. It's funny. It's a dude from Canada. All right. So now what are you currently doing?
So currently I'm helping out with FAU with really bunch of everything. Doing player engagement, player development, alumni engagement, helping out with the defensive linemen. And on top of that, doing everything that comes with being a children's book author. So, that's
talk to us about that. How many books you written?
So I've written about a dozen. I've written about 12, but I've published 2.
Okay. So which ones are published?
So You Want to Be an Athlete.
Want to Be an Athlete. Where do they find that?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.
So You Want to Be an Athlete.
Yeah. So You Want to Be an Athlete.
Okay. Check it out. We got it. It's a great book. Yep.
Thank you. And then the second book actually isn't officially published. It'll be published August 28th of 24, so a couple weeks from now. And that book is Can I Pet That Dog? And that book's about bite prevention and consent. Often when a kid sees a dog, they look at it like a stuffed animal. They run up to it, they get eye level, and they just start licking in the face.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of mood that dog's in. You don't know what the dog's been through. It could be a dog that's been rescued from a fighting farm or something for it. So always ask, can I pet that dog? So that's what the book's about.
And what made you want to be an author, and then what made you decide I want to be focused on children's books?
So initially, it was 2020. I just got cut from the Browns during the pandemic, lockdown, stuck in my my 1-bedroom apartment, during the COVID lockdown. And everything that comes on the TV is just, something that's wrong with the world. Disparities here, lack of resources here, this and that. And it just never ended. Like every time you turn on TV. So I remember I'm watching TV, and then a stat comes across, maybe some news channel I'm watching. They're like, the lack of literacy in our country is here, and this is what that looks like. This is what it leads to for kids as they grow up. And I'm like, man, that's terrible. Somebody should do something about it. I was like, well, why not me? So, I have this platform as an NFL player. Kids look up to me. Let me go out here and do something that can contribute to raise literacy in our nation. So, I decided to just write about topics that I think kids will enjoy, because I was what they call a reluctant reader as a kid. I could read. I read at a higher read level, but I just didn't think it was cool. I didn't think it was enjoyable. But in that same breath, it's like every time a teacher gave me a book, it was a book about somebody that I didn't care about, a story that I didn't care about. Like, here's a book about the Wright brothers or Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
I sure do.
I can only read so many of those.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not have stories that kids actually like? Everybody likes dogs. Everybody likes sports. So, try to just do something fun. So the kids will gravitate toward it and, stick with it.
So tell me it's a great book. Tell me who should be reading so you want to be an athlete. What's your target, and what are they going to get out of it?
So the target is, like I said, for the reluctant reader, but it's for everyone. 6th grade and under, or age 11 and under. And it's for kids that they want to play sports, but they don't know what it takes. And I had someone come up to me a couple weeks ago actually and said, man, this book actually is for the parents just as much as for the kids.
That's what I thought when I read it. Seriously.
So I'm like, it's true, because a lot of parents don't know. Like, man, to be and I kind of getting off topic here, but that's another thing, right? Like, as parents and kids, when there's a kid that's so good at sports, a lot of time he'll be kind of just ushered through. Like, we don't care how smart he is. We'll change that C to an A, whatever we got to do to get him on the field. So I wanted these kids to realize, like, man, sports are cool. They're important. One, you can be good, but it's going to take a lot of effort. So that's where we're talking about growth mindset. Like, you can do it, but you're going to have to put the work in. And not only is the athletic side important, but the academic side is even more important. So student before athlete, like my dad always said. So, I want the book to go to those kids who they want to play sports, they want to make it, but this is kind of a roadmap in 500 words with cool pictures for kids to know, like, all right, I'm starting on this journey as a kid. This is what it's going to take. And, we made it fun and rhymes too. So.
Oh, it's great. And I agree with, the whole deal with the parents. I think I remember my mom and dad weren't together. My mom raised me. And I remember my high school baseball coach. Our football team was, we'd be 500 and we'd still be decent. It was Connecticut football. It was okay at best. Not there wasn't some great football. My conference wasn't. But our baseball was really good. I won 2 state championships in high school, and a lot of dudes played at a very high level after. I remember my coach said my sophomore year, if anybody gets arrested, you're off the team. It doesn't matter what you get arrested for. You're off. I don't care what it is. Doesn't matter if you think you were right. 2 months later, I get arrested for drinking, partying, getting in a fight with this guy. And I remember my buddy's like, yo, you're not going to be able to play baseball. And I'm like, okay. Like, what do you want to do, right? Baseball season comes, and I play. And my coach acts like it never happened. You know what I mean? Like, we had signed a contract. And I remember my mom was like, well, that's great, right? I thought you weren't going to be able to play. And then my buddy, his dad, said to me, he said, how do you feel about being able to play? I said, well, I feel great. That's like, of course I want to play baseball. Like, we're a really good team. We're probably going to win a state championship. And he said, yeah, but you know that they don't care about you as a person, right? Because if they cared about you as a person, you wouldn't be playing.
Nope.
They care about what you can do from on the field in a high school program, but they don't care about you as a human being. And what I do, got arrested 2 more times before high school was out. And he was able to keep playing, right? And I'm a grown-up, like it wasn't, but I never forgot him saying that to me. And he said, Sean, remember when relationships are transactional? And he didn't, like, his son was very good. It's not like he wanted me off the team, because his son was going to play anyway. His son went on, played Division I baseball, got drafted. His son was going to play either way. But he was like, they don't care about you. Because if that was my son, I wouldn't let him play. I was like, wow.
Nope.
Like, straight up. Just like your dad and grandpa. Like, your dad probably done the same. Like, we ain't playing. You are going to be a student and be a good human being. before you're a good athlete.
Yep.
And I think there's so many times in life that we don't remember, like, dude, this is just transactional. We don't want it to be. And I think relationships shouldn't be that way. That's why when you start talking to people, sometimes I'm always like, hey, man, I don't want anything from you. I just want to help.
Yep.
Like, I don't want any, I have a, I don't have an ulterior motive. I'm not trying to, like, I just like you and I think you're a good dude. I want to help, you know? And I think that's what's so great about your book, because I've coached baseball, basketball, and football, know nothing about the high school level. But I'm like, dude, parents need to read this at all ages, because it gives you kind of an idea, because you lose track and you lose focus, you lose sight of what's really important. And, you know, dude, you've had an unbelievable amount of success, so I'm happy for you. I told you that I was like, he looked like he can still play right now. Like, I ain't trying to block him at all. And I wish you nothing but the best in whatever your journey, wherever it takes you after. I mean, you're an author, which is pretty unbelievable. That's great, right? Pro athlete, and you'll be successful at whatever you do because you're just a good human being.
Thank you.
But read his book, dude. I promise you. Don't miss out. FAU football, you'll see him on the sidelines roaming around, telling people what to do. Too bad we couldn't put you back in pads.
Yeah.
That'd be a problem for everybody. But I do appreciate you getting on Close and Conquer, man. And I love your story, and I appreciate who you are.
Hey, glad to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks
Appreciate you. Hey, thanks. Like, subscribe, share, find him. You can follow him on social media. You'll find his book. Go on to Amazon. Grab the book. It's a great read. Get it for a kid. Get it for your grandkid. Get it for you. Get it for your coach. Get it for your team, man. You won't want to miss out. So appreciate y'all. Thanks.